The views and opinions expressed in the following program are those of the hosts and guests, and not necessarily those of the staff and management of WWDB TV.
Hey everybody, welcome back to Meet the Candidate. Today we have a special guest on the show, and this is Dr. John Anzalone.
Perfect.
Is it Anzalone or Anzalone?
Well, my mother would say Anzalone, but
okay, because you're a good Italian.
I say Anzalone, but I try to be a good boy and say Anzalone.
So I know before the show you had mentioned that you're from Buffalo?
Correct.
So I have a friend that has a theory. I'm also from New York, Long Island. But
that's why I like you.
I have a friend who has a theory that the only people from New York or Chicago who live here in Las Vegas are in the witness protection program. Is that
well?
Does that apply to you?
If I actually admitted that, John, I couldn't be here right now. But no, honestly, Buffalo, great people, New Yorkers in general. I'm so proud to say I'm from Buffalo. It's such a blue collar, happy town, great food, great people, great sports town. Unfortunately, we haven't been able to win a Super Bowl yet. But we'll get there one day.
So, and I'm surprised because your son is wearing a Green Bay Packers jersey.
Yeah, my son is a
and you allow that?
I do. He's actually a New York Giants fan.
Okay.
And I still that's the one thing that him and I disagree on. But his grandma and grandpa are from that area in Wisconsin. Gotcha. So he's a good little grandson wearing that Packers stuff.
Okay, and you're running for Congress in Nevada District 4.
District 4, correct.
What does that encompass? What does District 4 encompass?
District 4 is a very large district. If you kind of can picture Summerlin Parkway,
yes,
and all north of that, east to Hollywood, covers the North Las Vegas part of town and a little bit of East Las Vegas. And then, believe it or not, it goes up into Moapa and Mesquite, Nye County,
right,
Mineral County, Esmeralda, Tonopah, Hawthorne. So it covers a lot of ground, a lot of rurals. So the interesting thing about that district is you have all walks of life, every ethnicity you can think of, every socioeconomic background. So it really makes it a lot of fun. You have to wear a lot of different hats if you're going to run for office in that district and really be able to be a chameleon within that district.
And you're currently a high school principal?
I am, Sierra Vista High School.
Okay.
Yeah.
I'm trying to make some kind of connection between being a high school principal and being a congressman.
Yeah.
What makes you think that there's a tie-in there? What makes you think that being a high school principal would make you a good congressman?
Sure. I get that question a lot, and I think as this campaign has built more traction, the answer becomes a lot more evident. If you roll back time, you look at high school principals and what they had to do 20, 30 years ago, it was a little more simple back then. Kids came to school, they for the most part did the right thing, and they graduated, and a high school principal really was the administrative person on campus. Over the years, as you know, John, the students have evolved, the parents have evolved, the communities have changed, and our job has evolved with that. I'm very, very little of a high school or an instructional leader anymore. That's supposed to be my main job. But trying to get into the classroom is so difficult when we're dealing with immigration issues and dreamers every single day on my campus. We deal with Medicare issues. I have teachers that literally can't retire because they can't afford insurance outside of the school district. We have obviously major school safety concerns now. You name one federal issue that we don't deal with, I'd be shocked. And it's unfortunate because that wasn't what the job description was supposed to be, but that's what it is. And my feeling is if we don't start to have voices from education directly impacting whether it's Congress, Senate, or anything in that arena, then we're going to be remiss.
Well, I think that's a good point, and I think that education has year after year after year has lost more and more funding.
Yeah.
And it's almost like, and this is just a personal observation,
sure.
It's almost like we do not want to educate the public. We want an uneducated public.
Yeah.
And I mean, you talked about school safety, the resolutions that I've heard to correct that situation is arm all the teachers, train them, which I think is an awesome idea when the cops won't even go inside the schools.
Right.
Or turn the school into a prison.
Yeah.
And basically make all of the students afraid for their lives. So you got scared, uneducated people.
Right.
What are you going to do about that?
So
I'm saying that's my opinion. That may or may not be true.
No, you're 100% accurate. You know, when I have kids coming up to me saying, Dr. Anzalone, I don't know if I want to be here anymore, or am I even going to make it home okay? That breaks my heart.
Yeah.
I've been doing this 18 years now, and that's not what I came into this job to do. But to me, it's really kind of a three-headed monster. You have the outside of the school and the actual facility, then you have the internal and making sure that we're keeping kids safe inside, and then you have the mental health piece, and so it really works from the outside in. As a congressman, I think it's going to be important that we secure those title funds, primarily Title IV. Title IV, a lot of people don't know about. It's kind of a best kept secret from the federal government. The Title IV funds actually allocate money for school safety, and unfortunately, under this current administration and under this particular Secretary of Education, public school is really the last on the list, John. And so,
do you think that that's intentional? I mean, the less attractive we make public schools,
sure,
the more attractive private schools are.
Correct.
And the more attractive private schools are, and with the economy the way it is, less and less people can afford to send their kids to private school. You've got in a two-parent household where you've got both parents working just to make ends meet, and then you try to throw in, a private school. Does that make any sense?
It doesn't, because what we can provide in a public school is unbelievable. If you look at the AP participation and scores in our schools, if you look at the fine arts, we're sending kids off to Ivy League schools all around the world. We lose focus because of our national ranking,
right.
And the national ranking system is all out of whack, and then that actually kind of perpetuates this private school and charter school trend right now.
Right.
We're doing unbelievable things, not only in this district, but all across Nevada. And I think as an educator, I would market that, or as a congressman, I would market that, I would advertise that, and bring that, what we're doing wonderfully in Nevada, to Washington to let them know those great things. But you're right, as a principal, I've also had to become a marketer, an advertiser, because I'm losing the top 10% of my kids every single year.
Right.
Primarily, I lose my kids to Bishop Gorman, Faith Lutheran, Doral Academy, all of the CTA schools.
Right.
They're just poaching my school. And that actually invigorates me, that motivates me. I can't sit and cry about it. So what we do is we try to provide these trades, we try to provide these programs, we try to provide ROTC and beautiful athletics and fine arts, and it makes me more motivated. So I do think it's a bit of a propaganda to get people to pull away from public school. But I'm fighting, John. I'm fighting hard to keep my kids and to make sure they're in a safe place.
What do you think is your biggest strength or your strongest point that you could bring to the district?
Collaboration. What do
you mean by that?
As a high school principal, we don't get to choose what party we work for or what party we work with. We don't know what parent is a Democrat or Republican.
Right, political party.
We don't know what our kids really believe. We don't know their religious beliefs, and we don't ask.
Right.
And so when we sit at the table to come up with safety plans or come up with curriculum plans or whatever we have to do, just work out a mediation between a teacher and a parent, none of that is on the table. So when I go into Congress, I could honestly say that I'm a true collaborator, and I'll be able to sit. And I saw an article the other day where John Kerry and Harry Reid sat down, and they said, that's what we're missing. We miss the days where we go to lunch, we go to dinner, and we work across the table, across the aisle with each other and actually get things done. The gridlock right now is sickening.
It's party politics.
It is.
And the country is the one that suffers.
Yeah.
I tried very, very hard not to let my personal beliefs infuse these interviews,
sure.
because I may or may not agree with some of the things, but I want I want the voters out there to be able to know who John Anzalone is
Yeah.
and why they should vote for him.
Yeah,
So,
and again, I'm someone that brings people together. I've been doing it all my life. You know, when I first got into being a principal after teaching and being a dean and all that stuff, that was my number one goal, was to get people at the table to compromise and make sure we're running a school the right way. I did it at Global Community High School, where we had a 12% graduation rate when I got there.
Jesus.
We had kids all over the world coming to that school, beautiful kids, tons of dreamers. And we ended up graduating about 55% of those kids after only 1 year, and I think we could have done better. They ended up moving me over. I applied and went over to El Dorado High School. Very, very difficult socioeconomics there, 75% Hispanic. We got kids together, we got families together, and we ended up going from a 46% grad rate to a 71% grad rate in less than 3 years. And it wasn't me on my own, it was putting a team of people together, working together, putting our differences aside, and making that happen. And we're doing the same thing at Sierra Vista. So wherever they put me, I seem to be able to do that. And I would just absolutely crave the idea of going to Congress and working that same way as an educator with that background, working across the aisle to make things happen.
so what do you do with somebody that just doesn't want to work with you?
You know,
That just absolutely refuses to even listen to you?
yeah, you know,
How do you deal with that?
I think you turn the tables and you do the listening. That's what I've learned. You know, you let them do the talking, and then you can, John, you can come to compromise. I don't believe that is impossible. I think if you truly are listening, too many people are talking over each other. I'll tell you, and it's happening even in my own congressional race. We have some candidates that are amazing people, but so caught up in their own opinions and so far left or so far right that I'm even seeing gridlock within my own party.
Right.
And so that's disheartening. But I really do believe that I'm that kind of happy medium, very unique candidate out there coming from the education world that might actually be able to break that barrier.
One of the problems that I think we have here in the school system is you have a huge number of homeless students. The last number that I heard, I don't know if it's accurate or not, but it was somewhere in the neighborhood of 15,000.
That's correct. That's right on.
15,000 kids in Clark County are homeless, the students?
Yes. Yeah, so we have kids, and remember too, if a student is living in like a budget suites, or that also constitutes homeless technically.
Yeah.
And we try to wrap our arms around those kids. We have worked with, we've partnered with Project 150, the United Way, several different community agencies to really.
Project 150 is awesome.
Oh, it's unbelievable.
Yeah, they're great.
We have a room probably about half the size of this studio, just loaded with clothes and shoes and school supplies and food, dry goods and water and Capri Suns and you name it. And it's just a beautiful, beautiful place, and we have a counselor kind of oversee it. But that's what we do. But it's a very sad problem. I had a family in the other day, a grandmother who actually inherited 4 boys, 2 little ones and 2 older ones. The daughter had OD'd from an opioid addiction, and this poor woman was living a retirement life, and now she's inherited these kids, and she's a loving woman, but she didn't know what to do. She brought them to my school. We wrapped our arms around her. We took them to Project 150. We got them clothed and fed and all that, and we're going to continue to take care of that family. But those are the kinds of things we deal with as principals every day. I literally the other day before noon had a student potentially ambushing himself in his bedroom as a cutter with 2 guns. Luckily, we had heard that he had an AR-15. Thank God he didn't. We had that happen. We had the grandmother walk in, and I had a teacher come to tell me that she had to come back for her 46th year next year because she couldn't afford her prescription drugs if she left the teacher's health trust. That's scary to me. And that was before noon. So if a high school principal isn't equipped to do this job, I don't know who is.
Yeah, I can see that.
Yeah.
What is the one thing that above all else that you want the voters to know about you?
I think they need to know.
Look at them and tell them what you want.
You know, you have a guy here who's willing to put a career that I've worked very, very hard for. I'm very, very proud of that, and I'm willing to put that on hold to go and fight. to go and fight for these kids, fight for their families, and fight for this state. It's hard to do that. This is what I know. This is what I love. I've gone to school for this. I wake up every morning so proud to go to my high school and be kind of a mayor of a small town, so to speak. But it's time. My high school principal colleagues, the Clark County School District, has gotten behind me to say, John, you're our guy. You go fight. You go do this, and then you come back with some policies, some laws, but more importantly, some information that we can use to make our city, our counties, and our state a better place.
Sounds good to me.
Yeah, hope so.
So, what do you find is the most difficult thing about campaigning for this office?
It's the time, trying to be everywhere. You know, I'm still working as a high school principal.
Right.
I find it hard to take days off because I want to be there for my kids, but I've been able to do that a little bit. But it's trying to almost balance the campaigning, being pulled in different directions, going home to be a dad of 3 kids and a husband. I'm still very much helping my mom. My mom's been very, very ill this year, and just being pulled in all those directions. But what keeps me going when I say, wow, I miss my kids, or I miss my wife, or I'm missing activities at my school, what keeps me going is that fight. To know that I'm doing this for the right reasons, John. That's what keeps me going. I'm not sleeping a lot. I'm trying. I think I have a 10% more gray hair than I started with. But at the end of the day, I look at that little face right there and I say, you know what? No more are kids going to go to school and parents are going to drop kids off at school wondering if they're going to make it home alive that day. And if we're not going to get the help from the state, and I'll tell you, I don't want to down my state, but we haven't had a dime. We haven't been given a dime since Parkland or before Parkland. So if I don't go out and get it for my schools and for my county, I don't know who is.
Well, all of you hear all the stories about the teachers, especially the back east, the ones that have been on strike in Oklahoma and West Virginia, and they're all talking about, I got to spend my own money, got to go get a second job, so I've got enough money to buy supplies for the classrooms. You got the one teacher that's talking about, we don't have enough books for the students.
Right.
So, you know, I mean, what the hell?
Yeah. So
with the advent of the legalization of cannabis here in the state, we all thought that a good portion of that money was going to go to education. Where is it?
So do we, John. We don't know. We know that the Henderson schools are working with the city council there, and they're apparently supposed to be receiving some money. I don't know how much that is, but most of us are not in Henderson, and I haven't seen a dime. Right now, we're...
But I mean, that's at the state level, is it not?
It seems like the state wants to blame the school district.
Right.
School district seems to be pointing the finger at the city council.
But how can you blame the school district for not receiving funds?
The fingers
what are you supposed to be doing?
Yeah, I don't know. The fingers are pointing left and right. We're asking those questions. We don't know. I know Governor Sandoval had said that even though he wasn't a proponent of it, that he would guarantee that money is going to us. Maybe he thinks it is. I don't know. But I'll be the first one to know. I know my budget in and out.
Yeah.
I know every single dollar that comes in, which is including Title I, including the SB 178 money, and then my per pupil. I probably see about $11 million. 90% of that goes right to salaries. We don't have that much left to really run the school. And so I would know if it was there, and it's not. But I can't answer about where it is. You know, so at this point, like I said, we've been the lowest funded per pupil in the country for almost 60 years now.
Yeah.
I mean, I grew up here. I went to Chaparral High School, and so I was raised by this community. I know how these funds work, and if we lose the federal funding to supplement what we get from the state, we're in big trouble. And it worries me every single day with this administration that money's going to be zeroed out and we're not going to see it. So I know the Constitution didn't really mean for us to live and die by the federal government, and it's supposed to be state generated. But if they're not coming to the table, somebody's going to have to.
Well, I mean, part of the reason that we get federal funding is because a portion of our state funding goes to the feds.
Correct.
So, you know, I mean, it's just kind of a back and forth thing. So, anyway, I know that you're really, really busy. What? I guess the June
12th.
June 12th.
June 12th
is the primary.
Right.
Right. And I would like to let everybody know there, you know, a lot of you say, well, I don't vote in the primary because it doesn't really matter. That's bullshit. If you have a candidate that you like or you agree with, you got to get out to the primary. You have got to make your vote count. That's the only way. We had, what, 47% of registered voters did not vote in the last presidential election?
Yeah. If anything's indicative of that, it's the Ward 5 election. You know, there was, I believe, 38,000 potential voters, and they had less than 1,000 vote.
Yeah.
I mean, come on.
Yeah, that's ridiculous.
That's ridiculous. And
right.
we have some outstanding candidates in CD4 right now. But what I want the voters to be careful about is regurgitating the same people because of a name or because of the money.
Recognition.
Yeah,
right.
I know that's how we vote in this country,
right.
and that's been my uphill battle coming from the education arena. But if people can really be informed, and I think people like you, John, who have these shows to get those people informed, you know, there are some awesome, hardworking, passionate people out there
yes.
that are throwing their name in the ring, but sometimes they don't get that chance because they haven't been recycled over and over and over. So I hope that shows like yours, you really persuade people to go out and vote for the person, not the party.
And that's it. We are not educated as voters, and we vote for sizzle and pizzazz. We don't vote for content. And that's true.
Sure,
and,
right.
And man, that breaks my heart.
Yeah,
yeah. You know?
Yeah, no, most people don't seem very informed, and I guess in some ways that's good for a new guy, right? You know, but on the other hand, when you see a name, you tend to vote for it. So, you know, for me, like I said, coming into this arena, it's been a challenge, but it's been so enlightening. The best part for me is the door knocking. I love it. I
right.
love when people answer the door. They're skeptical at first. You know, people are a little intimidated these days to answer their door. But I think once I get with a person face to face and they kind of see that I'm authentic, they see that I'm doing this for the right reasons, because I'm very fortunate. I get to go back, if this doesn't turn out the way I hope, I get to go back to do what I dreamed of doing
right.
my whole life. So that comes across, I think, with the voters. At least I hope it does.
Do you think that in your district, what I see is the younger people are the ones that are really coming out and starting to take this seriously.
Sure.
And do you find in your district that that's happening as well?
It's a little bit of a mix, you know. Like I said,
I mean, I know you got a pretty diverse.
Yeah, it's a very diverse district. We have, you know, we have an older community,
right.
For instance, in Sun City, Summerlin,
right.
Sun City, Aliante. But yeah, you know, one thing that I've been really blessed with, and it's been really just a beautiful thing, is my former students just finding me on Facebook or you know, reaching out to me saying, "Wow, thank you. This is really neat." And what's good for me is a lot of those voters, they're voters now, but they weren't, you know,
right.
a couple of years back. So they're coming out and they're saying, you know, we're going to support our principal. We have several that are lined up to help us, and just to say, you know what, this guy really made a difference for me. Not all. I mean,
right,
I couldn't
yeah.
touch every student, and I
Some
don't
of
want
them think you're a jerk.
Yeah, I don't want to tout myself like that. Of course, you know, there's times where I had to be that hard-nosed
right.
guy. But at the end of the day, you know, when you deal with thousands and thousands and thousands of kids, you're bound to touch one or two of them to say, hey, I want to give back to this guy and say, he did a lot for my school, he did a lot for me. Maybe I'll go out and check his name off on a box.
So your contact information, which we'll have on the screen, where's the best place for people to contact you if they want to help, if they want to
Sure.
volunteer, if they want to donate? And do you have any events coming up?
Yeah. Thank
Okay.
you. Thank you for asking. Well, I'm very open to give out my cell phone number. I have it on my cards. I like to talk to the constituents and the voters directly. My phone's been really busy, and I really appreciate that. 702-285-5717. That's directly to my cell phone. We also have a website, www.johnanzaloneforcongress.com. You can reach me on Facebook at any time, John Anzalone or John Anzalone for Congress. We have a Twitter account at Nevada4 with the number 4 Anzalone. But again, my cell phone, text, call me anytime, send me an email. I'd love to talk to you. John Anzalone for Congress at gmail.com. Tons of ways to get a hold of me at this point. I'm really excited to talk to people, to get to know you, to answer those hard questions, and you know, that's what I'm here for.
Quick question.
Yeah.
Jones and Craig, is that within your district?
Jones and Craig. Yes, that is.
That is within your district.
Yeah,
Okay.
that is. That's right on that edge there.
Yeah,
but
and
I'd have to know the zip code. What's the zip code?
89130.
Oh yeah, absolutely.
Okay, cool. Well,
absolutely.
then you have my vote.
Oh wow, thank you so much. Appreciate that.
And I always now wait, am I 4 or 5? 4 or 5?
Yeah, yeah,
and
yeah.
And
probably
because,
3 or 4, or that one would be either 1 or 4.
right. And there's the congressional district and the assembly district and all these districts.
There's a ton of those assembly
just trying to
districts,
keep everybody straight, and it's like, holy crap.
Yeah, I'm wondering if at some point they're going to really look to redraw 4. It's a heck of a boundary there, and it's a rather new district, as you know. 2010 census created it, and then 2012 was the first congressman. But funny thing is about that district, we've never had a 2-term congressman or woman in this district. It's always been 1 and out, or 2 years and out every time. So hopefully it can break that trend. It's tough in Congress, the 2-year turnaround. Unfortunately, it's become so much about campaigning and fundraising. It's hard to get things done.
That's the other thing too. Yeah, as a lot of the candidates have told me that I wish I didn't have to spend so much time trying to get money.
Yeah, yeah.
And because it takes away from what you're really trying to accomplish.
Yeah.
So.
I had a talk with our current Congressman Reuben Kewin not too long ago, just to kind of get some advice and things like that. And he said that's unfortunately what it's become. You have that March 31st deadline, that first quarter. Even once you win, you're vying to get back. And so I would be a true proponent of moving it to a 4-year term with term limits. Actually, I'm probably one of the only ones that would say that. I don't think this should be a 35, 40-year job. You get out of touch. I feel that way as a principal.
No. I absolutely agree with you. Do you happen to know Ruben Da Silva?
Yeah, he's a great guy. We met through this process, and he's a teacher at Rancho. Great guy, great young guy, and I know he's up against a tough wall too. But I don't think there's anybody out there that's working as hard as him.
No, that's true.
He is really killing it out there, and Ruben is an inspiration. I kind of feel like we have a little bond, but I'll be honest with you, we've made a bit of a bond within our own district. With my opponents.
Right.
I can't tell you that one person is better than another, other than I think that I have the best qualifications right now. I'm the best man for the job just because of my current experiences, but I think District 4 is in good shape.
Well, if you didn't think that you were the best man for the job, you'd have no business running.
Correct.
So.
Yeah, I would get behind somebody else, but every time I think about that, I'm like, you know what? No, I can't do that because there's nobody that's tied that into the community. Hey, listen, if you want to know about your community, ask a principal. I mean, they know those communities, whether it's elementary, middle, or high school. They really do. I can't say that was the case 30 years ago, but man, with all the things we're dealing with now, principals have their thumb on the pulse.
Well, John, we're kind of running out of time here, so thank you for coming in.
Yeah, I appreciate this and had a great time.
Helping us educate the voters.
Absolutely.
And I want to say it again, get out there, vote, register, vote. I don't care who you vote for. Well, I do care who you vote for, but vote, vote, vote. And I'd like to thank you all, and we'll see you next time on Meet the Candidate. John?
Yep. Thank you so much, John.
Thank
That was
you.
great.